Well, hey folks, and welcome back once again to the Hop House. It's Eddie here, and we're going to do another beer review. Feel free to like, share and subscribe to this channel if you've just found us. It is the Hop House. We like hoppy beer, we like good house music. We're on the beer side right now. We've done quite a few reviews, but one we haven't done, which we really should have done sooner, is another beer that kind of got me into real ales. So I'll do a little bit of background on this and then I'll let you know what beer we're reviewing. It is a classic. It's first originally brewed I think in the 80s, and it is an absolute belter of a darker beer. We're doing a bit of a dark beer day today. It's cold outside, the weather's rubbish, so you know you want something a little more warmer, a bit darker, a bit roasty, toasty. And these are beers that really you shouldn't refrigerate. Some people do, but maybe for a little bit, but they should be at room temperature. So what we call beer cellar temperature, so around about 11 degrees, 11 to 15, 16 degrees, something like that. Now this beer that we're going to review right now, I originally first had it in Scarborough, of all places. Scarborough in North Yorkshire. I think it was the early 2000s. I worked at a bank at the time. We had a day out, we went to Scarborough. We had a coach there, it included entrance to the Sea Life Centre. We whizzed around the Sea Life Centre and just decided to do a bit of a pub crawl. I was in my early 20s, what do you expect? So we found this pub and it had this beer on called Hobgoblin. Great, never heard of it before. Decided to have a pint of it, and it was like nothing I'd ever tasted before. I was like, oh my goodness, this is like really quite rich and fruity and a bit, ooh. And it was really strong from what I remember at the time. I think we had about 4 or 5 pints of it, and then we ended up moving on and we worked our way up to the top of the hill. I think we ended up in the Wetherspoons and then we stumbled our way back down. Found this Irish pub, stayed in there way too long and nearly missed the coach home. But we blamed it on the Hobgoblin. Now, so far on the channel we've done the Hobgoblin Gold, one of the first beers we did. We've also done the IPA, another one of the earlier beers that we did, and we did it can versus bottle. You know what? We're going to do that as well with the original Hobgoblin. Yes, so it's the Hobgoblin Ruby. It's a Ruby beer. It's the original Hobgoblin before they made the Gold, before they made the IPA. Now they call it the Hobgoblin Ruby, but to me it's just Hobgoblin. Should have worn my Hobgoblin t-shirt. Didn't really plan this very well, but hey ho, we're here. Let's crack on. So we have, in the blue corner, can't really say that because they're both blue, we have this. It is the Hobgoblin Ruby beer, 500 milliliter can in all of its glory. It's the new label artwork, which some people hate, but I think it looks really good on the can. In a can, it's 4.5% ABV. There you go, 4.5% in the ABV. It's also exactly the same strength on cask. If you have it on cask in the pubs, which I'm sure many people have had it on cask before, that's what you'll get. Excuse me. Also, there's this bad boy. It's Hobgoblin, again Ruby. It is in a bottle, 500 milliliters, so it's the same amount as the can, but this, if you have a look at the ABV there it is 5.2%. 5.2% in a bottle, so 4.5 in a can, 5.2 in a bottle. That's quite a bit. That's probably the biggest difference we've seen. So we had a look at the Hobgoblin Gold. It's 4.2 in a can, 4.5 in a bottle. 0.3% of a difference. The Hobgoblin IPA, 5% in a can, 5.3 in a bottle. Again, 0.3% difference. This is a whole 0.7% difference. Ooh. Now, we know Witchwood Brewery is owned by the mainstreams at Marston's, and I don't know how Marston's go about with their brewing, with their batch brewing. I don't work for Marston's, I'm not an industry expert, I don't brew my own beer, I just like certain beers. What I have heard is the bottled stuff is made up at Burton-on-Trent, where their main original Marston's brewery is, and they bottle all their branded beers, whether it be Witchwood, whether it be Ringwood, whether it be Marston's own, Banks's, or the one that we've got up in the Lake District, Jennings. That's all made in Burton-on-Trent. That's what I've heard. Like I say, I don't know. And the canned stuff, actually I have no idea where the canned stuff is made. All I've heard is that the cask stuff, which is again 4.5, same as the can, same strength, is made at the original brewery in Witney in Oxfordshire. So that's what I've heard. But what I want to know is, are they really two different beers? Do they taste the same? Do they look the same? Do they smell the same? Me and you, we're going to find out. Right here, right now, in the words of Fatboy Slim. Okay, let's get to it. So, I have, for the can, sorry for turning my back to the camera. So, for the can version, I have the Hobgoblin glass. Got matching glassware, yes we do. Didn't think about matching the t-shirt, but we've got matching glassware. So, Hobgoblin in a can, 4.5%. I'm trying not to pour it really badly, but the pour's not great because the head's massive. So if I hold that up to the camera, despite the really large head, it does look quite carbonated actually. I can see it is quite carbonated. It is the sort of red ruby colour. Dark amber / red ruby. Really dark colour. Slightly off-white head. Good head on it though. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Yeah, you hold it up to the light, I can really see the red ruby. Whether or not that will come through on the camera or not, trust me. Trust me on this, people. I'm not lying to you. I won't do that to you. So that is Hobgoblin in a can. The cans are usually available in the 4-pack. Most supermarkets, about £4. They sell them in places like B&M as well. I think a bit more, £4.50. Might be the same in Morrison's. Aldi, you can get the Ruby, $3.99 for a 4-pack. But they don't sell the golden cans at Aldi for some reason. Don't know why. Right then, the bottle. Hobgoblin, 5.2% Ruby. We will get that open. Oh yeah, sorry, the bottle cap, see that? That is a rarity. So, when the whole Witchwood Hobgoblin thing did a rebrand, they went with this branding and everyone went mad. But then they started putting the bottle caps, different letters, you know, the whole Hobgoblin. So there was a H on there, H in the start of an O, and the N and the star was the final one. People started collecting them. And the N and the star was really hard to get hold of. So that could have been a collector's item when they first went about rebranding it. It's over a year ago now, it's probably worth nothing. But there'll be some sado that'll put that up on YouTube. YouTube, eBay. They'll put that up on eBay. And probably someone even sadder will have bought it. Right then, the bottle into the glass. Let's have a look at the old appearance. And then we'll compare them side by side. Hopefully this does retain some sort of head, because I know what this glass is like. Oh, it is doing so. It doesn't look that bad. Looks quite a bit darker, I have to say. Okay, so there you go. Again, hold it up to the light a bit. Yeah, it is ruby red, but it's a bit darker. It does seem to be a bit darker shade of dark red. I'm trying to hold it up to the light. I can sort of see it. I think it'll come out on camera. Just looks dark, doesn't it, on camera? Let's compare the two. No, they do look very similar. This looks more carbonated. I have to say, this does look a lot more carbonated than that one. What do you think? That looks like it's got a better head to it, but again, I think it's this glass. Any beers I've ever had don't seem to hold the head very well in this glass. Right, so I've got to remember, Hobgoblin glass is the can, and the purity glass is the bottle. A bit more out into there, there you go. Right then, so that's what the appearance looks like. They don't look that dissimilar. The can looks a slightly tad lighter shade of dark ruby, red, mahogany-ish. Might even be my eyesight. So, it's time to give it a whiff, see what we can sniff. We'll go with the canned version first because it's nearest to me. Oh yeah, I can smell what you usually smell with a Hobgoblin Ruby. So you smell like stone fruits, so like figs. It's very sort of figgy, dates. Quite similar to some of the Christmas beers that reviewed over the festive period. Very similar to that, but there's no marmalade tartness. Remember when I said it was sort of a tart, jammy aftertaste marmalade? That's not there. It's just stone fruits, and then a bit almost sort of chalkiness. Try the bottle version. Ooh, now you see that? I've got some tartness there, which I didn't get in that. Oh yeah, again that smells a bit sort of marmalade-y tartness, aftertaste of jam. That's stronger than that in the aroma, without a doubt. I suppose you'd expect that from the difference in the ABV. I think I quite like the smell of the bottled version better than the can, I have to say. Right then, so we've gone ahead and given it a whiff, see what we can sniff. We've looked at the appearance, looked at the difference in the ABV. Now I'm going to bottoms up and down the old hatchet and see if they taste any different. So here we go. Bottoms up. Ooh, yeah, that tastes like Hobgoblin to me. That does genuinely taste like the draft version. No widget in the can or anything. So what am I getting? I'm getting like quite definitely the stone fruits come out in abundance. It's quite a fruity beer. It's quite rich, fruity. Your fig, plum, dates, that kind of thing. There's a smokiness there, a bit of a pepperiness. The aftertaste is, there's a tiny little bit of bitterness on the back end. I can tell it's more traditional hop. It's certainly no American hops in this, not that kind of beer. But I can taste like smokiness. It's quite smoky, quite chalky, sort of, or chalky smell. Excuse me, smoky taste. Quite carbonated, as you can tell. Carbonated but not fizzy, not hissy fizzy, if that makes sense. But the carbonation is nice. It sort of, it holds, it gives you a nice mouthfeel of it being quite full and rich. It's that kind of beer. It's a dark beer. It's sort of rich. It's malty. It's fruity. It's really, really quite nice. It's very drinkable. Absolutely amazingly drinkable. I mean, there's so many reasons why I love this beer. That first time I had it in Scarborough, when I first moved to Telford, we had a pub just a few doors down from us. Sadly, it shut down. It was an old Banks's house, and they used to have Hobgoblin on tap all the time. And when we first moved here, I was still trying to sort out the internet, so they had free Wi-Fi, so I ended up having a few liquid lunches in there. And that's what I tasted, that Hobgoblin. Right, now the bottled version, it does look quite a bit darker now on the appearance, I have to say. Yeah, definitely. The head's kind of gone. Do you think it's this glass? So bottoms up, down the old hatchet. Now, that's more intense. It's a lot fruitier. Really is a lot fruitier. That is like quite similar to the bar humbug we had over Christmas. It's very, very, very fruity, very, very rich, very indulgent. Doesn't taste as smoky. It's quite interesting, but it's lingering in the mouth there. The bitterness on the back end has kind of disappeared. It's replaced it with a bit of fruit sweetness. It's not as tart as the jam tart marmalade that I had on the other beers. It's a bit sweeter than that, but it's like, it's not full on sugar sweetness, because that, you don't want that in a beer. That at the end of the beer is horrible. But it does taste like there's more in it. It tastes more complex than the canned version, which would make sense because of the difference in the ABV. Yeah, I do think they're quite different. This does taste like the draft version, the cask version. It is lighter. It really is light. It's much lighter beer, and it's more refreshing. It's quite pleasant to drink. So the cask version, I mean, 4.5%. I guess these days they call that a session strength. I know that, you know, a few years back in the day, your best bitters, right, your 3.7, 3.8% were classed as session strength. Nowadays, with all these blooming IPAs taking over at 5, 6% and above, 4.5% is sort of session strength. So this 5.2 would be classed as a strong beer. It's certainly more filling. There's more to it. There's more going on. There's more filling. I wouldn't say it's hoppier. It probably is. I think it's maltier and it's fruitier, so you feel it more. It sort of fills you up more. I couldn't really say it was hoppy as in New World hoppy, because it's not that kind of hops. It's a bit gassy though, so excuse me once again. In all fairness, I really like them both. They're both really, really nice beers. Although they're branded and advertised as the same, I'd say that they weren't. Again, just to show you, look, the lacing's pretty good on both of them. So yeah, they look good. That's definitely darker in the appearance than that. I think that's now evident. It certainly is to me anyway, looking at it. If I was going to go and have a few pints of it, I would go with the canned version, because it's the same as the cask version. Going back to what I said originally when I first tried it in Scarborough, I'm pretty sure back then it was quite a lot stronger. I think it was a pre-Marston's takeover, because if it was 4.5%, it wouldn't have knocked my socks off like it did after about 4 or 5 pints of it. So I'm pretty sure it was in the upper 5s, maybe 6%. All I remember is going in this pub and it was there, and it was just one of those, you know, beer badges where it was just literally like a whiteboard made on a black pen, Hobgoblin, and that's all it said. Hobgoblin Ruby beer or Ruby ale, something like that. Don't even think it had the percentage on it. Just, I think it had the price on it though. So yeah, without a doubt, it's probably changed since then. That was a fair few years ago. So, in terms of the canned version, it's lovely. It's a good thumbs up from me. Probably 2 thumbs up actually. Bottle version the same. Both really, really good beers. They are, I mean, Hobgoblin is classed as a quintessential English beer. I know that when Barack Obama was President of the United States and they had the first conference, it was David Cameron was the Prime Minister then. Funnily enough, he was the MP for Witney in Oxfordshire, which is where the Witchwood Brewery is, and he exchanged a bottle of Hobgoblin, the Ruby, to the President of the United States. It sells worldwide. It's a worldwide seller. I believe it's the bottled version that sells worldwide, but still, it's a cracking beer. If you want something a bit more session strength, go for the canned version. As I say, you can pick it up in most supermarkets, a 4-pack for £4. That's £1 a can. This goes most supermarkets for around about £1.25 a bottle, but it's slightly stronger. I suppose it's whatever floats your boat, right? Wicked, love it. Thanks for joining us, people. Go get some Hobgoblin. It's probably a beer I should have reviewed on the channel way earlier than I did, but both the canned and the bottled are really, really, really lovely beers. If you like your dark beers, you like something a bit fruitier, a bit spicy, peppery, and quite richer and more indulgent. It doesn't always have to be about the American hops. It really doesn't, even though I think it does, but it doesn't. Each to their own. Go get some. See you on the next one. Ciao for now, people.